All right, here we are struggling our way through Piacenza. Piacenza. Always want to make the seesaw, and I want to add an N in there somewhere. Anyway, we got 2 more turns for the French to get at least one of the victory point locations. Now, the Austrians don't know this, but the French have picked those 4. It doesn't look likely that they can get anything, but leave that by the wayside for now. I've been having a huge struggle with the game. So what's been happening? Well, I've been attempting a big outflank over here that's not been going well. I've got units that are getting cluttered up in traffic jams because of the linear formation rules in the game, along with my own struggles, maybe with the map looking like it's all clear terrain and not being so. I've been having wings getting in each other's way and not being able to launch attacks where I want to. The Franco-Spanish are having a really hard time in terms of landing a blow, is essentially what it comes down to. They've made some gains here, mainly because the Austrians have been unable to get their own units from their reserve into the defensive line where they wanted them. The initial setup for the Austrians didn't give them a solid line, and I tried to make up for that with their reserve. Just like the initial setup for the Franco-Spanish did not put their units where I would have wanted them. And has the wings named in a way that led me to use them as they're named, which I don't feel is the most efficient usage of them. I would completely play this differently. Finally, we have this section up here where almost nothing has been happening, mainly because there's Spanish cav facing what's largely Austrian cav up here with breastworks. Now, I had a viewer comment because I had kind of plowed through with a Spanish cav unit, and I was like, oh, he couldn't have been there next to some infantry, whatever. And to some extent, yes, the cav can't get next to the infantry. But he pointed out that the cav could have advanced next to the infantry. And yes, that's true. I don't think that's where I went wrong. I think where I went wrong was either in the initial placement for attack. I placed myself next to an infantry to make an attack that I couldn't, or I attacked into the breastworks themselves. I think there was something wrong along those lines. So, because basically I'm finding it impossible to land any kind of attacks on anything with the cav that I have associated up here, and that's my left reserve column. We're going to take another turn, and I'm going to do the same damn thing. French are going to throw their left wing in, try to pull it into play, because as I get the left wing out of the way, that makes room for the center to fill in the gap more. The only problem with this is I've got to keep my stuff in command of my overall commander. Right now I'm fine, but I did have an issue up here with these guys who are pretty much useless anyway. Their commander had kind of fallen out of command, and that caused me some issues. So I've got to pay attention to that. And what I've got to do is remember to move this commander after these guys move, kind of maybe in conjunction with him pulling his command further back. He's got a reasonable command range, so he can keep kind of trailing towards the overall commander. He's got a range of 8 hexes and only has to get these guys in command. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oops, I left him out of command. Let's put a marker there. He can't do shit though, so that's fine. At least this command has some infantry on it. Let's take a look at the Austrians and see what we're going to do. And basically, yeah, the kind of feel that I'm giving in terms of like, wow, I haven't been able to do anything. That has been my experience throughout the game. Some of it may relate to the rules themselves. Some of it may relate to collateral effects as I deal with things starting from the initial setup, trying to do it from a picture, which is not the best way for me. I want to do hex numbers. Well, there aren't any on here. So they had to go with a picture because they made the decision not to put hex numbers on the board. Great. Brilliant. I think some of it actually does relate to difficulty in coping with these rules themselves. But I think a lot of it's just snowballing as one problem collides into another, as the difficulty of trying to maneuver these pieces under a system that does not feel comfortable at all to me. That leads me to start making more and more blunders. Blunders with the rules, blunders elsewhere. I'm also finding myself constantly having to look stuff up in rules that I do not think are particularly good. They're not good for me. Somebody pointed out, well, you know, the rule you were looking for was right next to your finger. Yeah, I'm not shocked by that, to tell you the truth. Once I start getting frustrated and flustered, I stop. It becomes harder and harder for me to see what's right in front of me. In front of my face. I'm also finding other issues. The amount of color, etc., in the rules distracts me and makes it so I can't see the actual rules. But that, again, another thing. One nice thing about the color is, for the most part, it's in things that are not part of the rules, because one of the things I tend to do is I blank out when I see stuff like this. But the color also distracts me in terms of being able to find stuff. Anyway, and the terrain effects chart is just horrible. The typeface on it is horrible for me. Okay, what am I doing for the Austrians? Well, again, I keep trying to move this reserve. I think that's my most important piece, so I'm going to try to get that into play again. It's not working well. Nothing works well. And we make a quick roll, and the Austrians get first shot. I think they're going to take their reserve command first, and I'll see what I can do here. System also has cumbersome aspects to it, like having to roll a die to move into various hexes, sometimes in places where it doesn't make any sense, like you're completely screened from the enemy, but you're trying to move into a hex that could contain valuable cover to you, but you're close enough to the enemy that you have to roll a die for it. You also have to pay 2 movement points. You have to pay the movement point cost as if you're taking advantage of the cover. Now, that might make sense with breastworks, whatever the fuck they call them. Redoubts and farmhouses. Redoubts and entrenchments. But a lot of them are like a farmhouse, just like this little building out here, which looks like it's nothing. It looks like it's just a little picture on the map to keep me busy, right? Well, those are type 1 cover, which means if I want to march by that farmhouse, I have to actually occupy it and pay the costs for doing so, even if there's no potential advantage for it, if I'm just trying to cross country. So I have to end up avoiding it or whatever. It probably is not big enough to take up the whole hex. It certainly doesn't look like it should be. But yeah. This also is a farmhouse. This little alamo-like structure. And again, if I just want to walk through that hex, I have to basically take a defensive position, taking cover within it, whether or not I'm just marching by it. Anyway, we've grumped about that enough. Let me try to do something with these Austrians. I don't know what. That's it I want to point out that's kind of irritating. So I have a line defined that I just created going from here down to here. I have some units in the back. I can't move them up. They would have to be coming into contact with the enemy, and I can't define any place they can go, at least not yet. So I've got to delay on these and see, maybe I can do something where they can join the line, but otherwise they just have to kick around back here and act like Triarii or something. For moving up into place, we made some fire. We routed a couple of the enemy units that had crossed the river. Then the smoke makes further fire much more difficult.
See, I don't think we took any damage at all. Oh no, we did. This guy was up here. He got disordered and forced back, unable to make his special check to recover from that. But you know, all we're trying to do is prevent we're on the defensive here. So as long as we can kind of disrupt the attack, that's good enough. And that's the end of the Austrian side. Well, we go down to this left wing here and see what I can do with it. Oh, good God. I really think it's going to end here, and then I'm done, and probably will never play this again. We'll never even think about doing so again, because it has been such a painful experience. And so we pushed forward, scared away the Austrian cav, because they're not willing to defend. And we'll try to combine some fire, get a shot against him, and see if we get lucky. But the fact that we've got infantry charging against cav, much like in Banish All Their Fears, infantry marching against cav just scares it away in this time period. And yeah, it's really, really tough to figure out what you can use your cav for, certainly on defense. It is really an auxiliary branch at this point, and there's a fair amount of it in both armies. Managed to generate a rare casualty effect with nothing else. No routes, no disorder or anything like that. You don't get casualties with disorder, which to me is fucking weird. Am I missing something? No, it does disorder. Okay, there we go. All right, that makes a lot more sense. Let's fall back here. Yeah, I was going to say that really doesn't make sense now. Yeah, so we got the casualty and pushed him back, but we also lost one of our own units, fell back a little bit. If you look over here, you'll see the Franco-Spanish army has lost 4 full units. The Austrians have only lost an artillery so far. I think that's it for this command, so we make another choice. And, I don't know. It's probably safe for me to do the left wing for them. For these guys, well, we're going to keep going. Try to press the center into place here. Does that even make fucking sense? Do I want to go with the right first? I'm sorry, the left reserve first. Oops. Put the wrong wing in. I can't tell these colors. The left wing is brown. This is purple. The purple looks kind of brown to me. These little corners just don't do it. Again, part of the effects of it, the presentation of the counters is such that I just don't really see what's going on. I also have these artillery, which don't have a little corner. Yeah. Think that they're associated with a wing? I'm not going to look it up. I'm fucking tired of looking shit up in this game. But what do I want to do? Well, I might as well do the useless thing first. So we'll do the left reserve first. Because depending on what I can do with them, I may want to try to shift this a little bit over, make a little bit more room for that center wing to come into play. French get first call. They're going to force the Austrians to go first. I don't know what I want to do with this. I could try to engage these. The weird thing is I can only engage 1 unit to 1 unit with cav fighting. Now, for some reason, you're allowed to stack your cav too deep. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't help me defend the line or anything to spread them out because they just run away from the infantry. And it doesn't seem to help to attack. But we may see a charge with a countercharge happening. That would be kind of cool, right? Do we want to test out that roll? I don't know. Maybe. So we're going to try that. I swung my cav down to form a more solid line. I mean, it does kind of slow down the enemy because they got to make rolls to cross the river and whatnot. They're being interfered with the existence of the cav. They may not make it across. I also shifted everything down a little bit. This is pretty contentious to do. Because by shifting everything down, I'm making more room for that, that reserve to come into play. But these guys haven't been activated yet. They might be able to gain some kind of assault advantage, continuing a stronger attack in the one place where the Franco-Spanish allies are actually gaining just a teeny bit of ground. But I wanted to do that charge, and I wanted to present them with a more difficult defense there. So let's take a look at the charge. May declare charge. The hex is occupied. We fulfill all the requirements to charge. Now we're just charging one unit in that, and we're not allowed to do more than that. But now there's a countercharge possibility. No, only if charge cav. So you can't. So there's the countercharge. I played something recently. I don't remember which it was. It might have been Summer Storm. Where the point of the countercharge is to cancel out the charge advantage. In fact, I'm pretty sure it was. And I thought that was here. It's not. Here the countercharge is something that happens after you take the charge. So a cavalry charge and countercharge is resolved as a melee following the prescriptions of blah, blah, blah numbers. You know, yeah, okay. Those numbers don't mean much. Using the same procedure of 9.24, which is the regular melee resolution. Now, what's important is this is not this, which wouldn't allow melee in clear terrain. And we could get a flank if at least one other cavalry is adjacent, but not adjacent to the attacking. Is adjacent to the attacked unit, but not to the attacking unit. Yeah, I mean, I didn't really have a way to set that up easily, did I? It might have been back down here. I don't know where I was. So these two were here. These two would have been here, here. Maybe. So he could have gone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He could charge like that, and I put this one like that, and that'll get me the flanking bonus. Let's do that. Because I don't really need a solid line. Okay. So that'll give me a bonus of a column to the right in a charge, or a melee for that matter. Dragoons. Do we have dragoons involved here? Because that would cause an issue. We do not. All right, so we've got 6 strength points against 5, which is a 1-to-1. No, we don't. That's movement point cost. So these are lighter cav. We've got 2 strength points against 2. That's a 1-to-1. There's a cav charge. It's +1. And it's flanking +2. Okay. That's our big attack. +2 on the 1-to-1 table. Seems so minor. All right, that gets us a 4. That's an attacker. Retreat. 1 unit disordered, and the stack retreats a hex. Great. Okay, but after that happens, there is a countercharge. If the charge cav is still in the hex after combat is resolved and the loss is taken, it must immediately countercharge before the charging cav retreats. This is performed exactly like a charge, with parts reversed. After the countercharge result, the initially attacked cavalry retreats. If it has to, I think, because they talk about a double retreat here and stuff like that. Okay, so now we'd be attacking back. Again, 2 strength points to 2, with a +1 on the French cav at 1-to-1. And we get a big 9. That's a D1, which is defender takes a step, disordered, and retreats a hex. Okay, this guy already had a retreat, which means he is taking a retreat and then another retreat, right? Double retreat always, in this result, always retreats once. And it's just a 1 hex retreat, right? Okay. And there's no advance? I don't know. So normally in Melee, the defender doesn't advance, but I think the countercharge is going to make it happen so that there is an advance, so that the unit that countercharged, which is only 1 unit, again, I don't know why you have 2 units in stacks, why it's allowed, whatever, but that unit comes forward and charges forward. Okay, that's that, and now we'll come to our firepower, which is relatively limited, but we have the advantage there. On both sides routed away. There's still an Austrian unit that was firing, but yipper. Fun, fun, fun. Okay, so that's the left wing. Come up to that left reserve, and I try to figure out if there's anything I can do here. I'll be back, but this is probably when I move this guy, if anything. And then I'm done for a while again. I just can't face this thing. And we have a whole bunch of nothing here, including the firepower not doing anything. I'm not going to risk double shots here. This isn't going to get me to my victory conditions that I need to be in anytime soon, so I'm not in the same hurry as I might be down in this area. I moved the leader of all this cav back here. That'll put him back in command, so I took away his out of command chit. This infantry fired at this artillery. Dumb move. The artillery doesn't get to shoot back, but not yet. It'll get to shift and open fire on them. But again, the infantry was a 2-table shot at a -3. The most I could get is a 6 at DR3. That doesn't even affect artillery, so there's no way I can hurt the artillery that's in the entrenchment. If I had enough movement points, I could charge it and take it out. And that's what I kind of have to hope for. That this guy turns, fires on me, misses. I charge him next time. He gets another shot at me, and he misses again. Or if he misses again, then I get to destroy that artillery. How did I destroy this artillery? I think it must have been along the river line where it could actually be hit. The artillery in the, are they bastions? What the fuck are they called? Redoubts. Just want to call them all kinds of things. All kinds of different names. Entrenchments, bastions. Wait, what are my 2 terms here? Entrenchments and villages. No, redoubt. Just, they're in different places. Fucking hell. Yeah. Okay, that's it for now. I'm done. Half a turn. That's pretty severe for me in this game. It's not like it takes a whole hell of a lot of time. It's just the frustration level of coping with this thing. I'm kind of hoping to come up here, buzz through 2 quick turns, get to the ending, say, screw it, I'm done, do the review, get it out of the way and package. Not just because I don't want to play this anymore. Hey, I quit Summerstorm. But because also it's going to get really, really hot the next few days. And that way I could be done with being up here in the loft, go back down in the basement and play something else where the weather would not impact me as much. Okay, so I'll have to do a little bit more. French are going to do the left wing first this time. Again, I'm trying to make room for that center somehow. And the Austrians are going to do the right wing as usual because nothing can happen up here, right? We get a French activation first. We're going to force the Austrians to go first. I don't know what they're going to do. I can pick on this. That's about it. And we end up in a horrible position. These guys were unable to back away and get out of there. That meant this was unable to form the line it wanted to. I formed this, but that's not at all what I want. The one advantage I have is I can shoot at this artillery here that's under smoke. I think I'm going to hold off all other fire over here. I'll probably find a shot over here. Yeah, the fire is so sporadic. Firing into here actually didn't do anything. I didn't notice there's a farmhouse there that those guns are hiding in, which between the smoke, the unaligned fire, there's just no chance that that could have hit anything. It's fine. It didn't hurt anything. Wherever we had a shot, we got flung back. That puts us on the final activity, which is moving that center forward, see if we can bust a way through here, and then for the Austrians, all their Pinko units get to go. French are going to force the Austrians to go first, of course. A couple more units, including a 2-strength unit. Now, I fucked up before. Remember when I said, hey, it's weird that, you take a shot and you're not disordered? Yeah, I had it right initially. I looked over here, one unit loses a step as disordered and all the stack retreats hacks. That's the melee table results. If we look over here, the results are over here. It's just one unit loses a step, so I was actually doing it right. I don't know how to fix it. I don't know where to find him. Fuck him. Shit happens, right? Yeah. There's stuff, and I've argued this in a lot of games. There's stuff that, like, the game can't cover special instances and whatnot. So whatever actually happened there, yeah, is fine. It's fine. But somewhere along the line, I have some unit that was disordered, maybe it's this guy, and had to retreat. Although it looks like he retreated too far, so I don't think it was him. I don't know where it is. It might be one of these Austrian units. Who cares? But we're just wiping out the Franco-Spanish army as it stands, and now we come to that last, the center, which is this clump here, with the little tiny green corners. Because of traffic jams, because of trying to cross the river, all that kind of shit, we got like a line here that's broken up, wasn't able to get in there. Got this line all broken all over, interspersed with that one. We got these Spaniards trying to make their way somewhere, trying to find some place that they can try to, get in a fight. Maybe next turn they'll be able to fight. Just wandering around in the backfields, looking for some kind of opening. They're not finding it. It's too crowded. It's too cluttered. And maybe one can play this game in a way where you don't end up getting in that kind of mess, but it just feels so unpleasant trying to, I don't know. So what do I have for firepower capabilities? Well, I guess I can try to pick off this artillery again, and that's really about it. I could go after the infantry instead, but yeah. Everything else is kind of ineffectual fire that I'm going to suffer worse from anything else is this and this that I'm just going to suffer worse from if I don't have my units up there and I don't see making those rolls. Although, I might as well just concede the game if I don't try for them, right? Yeah, it feels that way. Don't manage to get the necessary, actually, this guy, yeah, these guys are both 2s, right? I'm always getting confused because I want this to be the combat strength and this to be the movement. Again, representation on the counters. One is used to a certain thing, right? Combat strength on one side, movement on the other. If it's not that, it's going to cause some cognitive dissonance. And I do have to struggle with that regularly, and I'm probably fucking up fairly regularly where I count this as the combat strength. That's the movement allowance. But these two both fired at that. They both had a 1 in 10 chance of hitting the artillery. Now, could I have shot at this? Yeah, I would have had a better shot at hitting that. And maybe that would be wise. But getting the artillery out of the way so it doesn't keep producing smoke and preventing me from, advancing seems like a good idea, too. So, I don't know. Anyway, that's the end of this turn. We're at one more. I'm not. I gotta do the cleanup shit. Let me leave these here until I do that. That also is somewhat of a task. Again, it's a small game, so it's not as painful as Summer Storm was, but it's very similar kinds of things where I have to roll, to recover each of my units, and I have to do it in a specific order, right? I have to do the disorders before I do the routeds and all that. But there's a fair amount of that going on. I'm really not thrilled with games where you have to roll too many times, even though I think that's the right way to do things. In terms of accurately, whether or not a unit recovers, it shouldn't just be an automatic thing. It should have to make a check to see if they reform. It should be something that you can't count on. Same way as movement should have a die roll and whatnot. But as I play games that follow the kinds of concepts that I feel intellectually I support, I find them unpleasant to play. Back for what is almost certain to be the last turn. I don't see the Franco-Spanish getting any of these. They basically would have to be getting really close for them to get one. So I probably should just call it here, to tell you the truth. But I'm going to play out that last turn before they retire. Mainly because there's not enough on this video yet. I just did my orders for the GMT fall sale, and it's funny. I ordered so much shit that came this year. It's like there's things I wanted to make sure I got. Stuff like Inferno, Banish All Their Fears. Less certain about this, right? Prime Minister, yeah. I'm not quite sure why I picked up some of the things I did. Some of the by pre-ordering, and so I was left with basically nothing by GMT that I wanted. And there are things that, I could have convinced myself to, but I got too many games as it stands. I checked expansions and everything like that, and I have them already. The Attila expansion to Cataphract, I was expecting that to be something I didn't have because my copy of Cataphract is an old one, and that was apparently published in 2017. Nah, I have a copy of it. I don't know. So I ended up ordering one thing. I think a Ludofoil. The Marshall's Marshall's Volume 6 for Joseph, to give me an operational game in the Peninsular War. I don't know much about the system, but at the very least, I have not been absolutely thrilled with the Zucker operational Napoleonic games, and I'm certainly not excited about Wellington and Kutuzov. This looks like a healthy series. They're on volume 6 at least. So if I like the way it works, I may go ahead with it. All right, let's figure out what we're doing here. Again, Austrians going with the reserve. Again, French going with the right wing. To try that outflank, at least I can chase some cav around, maybe. Austrians get first pick, and they will choose to go first because they want to try to get stuff onto that line, try to push things back. There is a bit of a danger to me here, and I want to cover that. I actually had an opportunity to at least get to here. It didn't happen. They didn't make it to fill that in. But we're filling in here. It's not perfect, but there's, even less chance that there's going to be any breakthrough.
coming this way. This is so tied down, we feel pretty secure with that. And everything else looks pretty solid. Yeah, sure, this flank, eventually, the French will make it around, but it just took them too long to get down there. Here's something I find problematic. So this unit, when it's flipped over, it changes color. That happens with all the units to show the reduced side. That creates even more confusion to me. Now, it's the band on top that's important, but man, I do not need that. That makes it look like it's part of something different. Yes, the commander is that color, but it looks like it's a different nationality. That is the difference between the Austrian colors. Is just like with the Spanish ones here, and I assume the French as well. Well, that one won't show. Let's look at this guy. He gets a little darker, but it's not a big difference. But this is a fairly big difference, and going from white to tan is a major difference. It makes me think that I'm dealing with different formations. Again, the color, the main color on the counter, which is the nationality of the counter, is unimportant to gameplay for the most part. It does affect this. In which case, yes, the Spanish and French distinction is of some importance, but it seems so much less important than which formation you're talking about, and the coloration of this little bar above is much more difficult to distinguish. There's just too much information being provided by color, especially since there are people who are not able to distinguish all colors. That's not where my confusion is coming from. I'm able to distinguish most of the colors except for these little corner things, which is the wing, which is the second most important piece of information after formation. The least important piece of information is taking up the biggest portion of the counter, and I'm just having trouble training myself to that part of the clutter. Anyway, I have not finished my fire. Do I want to fire this guy who's in the smoke here? He's part of this. I would be tempted to say, hey, he doesn't have a unit that he can operate with, but he actually does. This guy's kind of out of line. The line is all broken, but I couldn't move forward. I wasn't able to. So what happens if I fire at this? That would be cheap. Going into there, that would be going here at like -2, and I'd be being fired back at it by an unsupported unit, so I might as well do that. So let's do that one here. I might not be at -2. I might have a leader. Yeah, I have a leader. So I'm at -1, but that's not going to hit. And this comes back. He's at like -4, which I don't even think can hit. But anyway. Anyway, that was the reserve wing. And now we do the right wing here. And these can't charge, but they can melee. So the advance of the infantry scared the cav away, of course. We've got more infantry coming up behind on the line here. The Spanish forces still trying to find a way to the battle. At least I shifted over. That'll allow me, I think, maybe to bring something else into play. I don't know. You know, more Spaniards who can't find the battle from the center wing. And we've got some opportunity to fire. We also have a charge happening here. So I'm going to hold off. This isn't going to melee because this is charging. I'm not going to get as much bonus as last time, but I get first shot against a weaker unit, so I'll be hitting it at 2-1. The infantry was able to scare off the unit that was kind of pinning this guy down from his charge. And success in the charge. We destroyed another Austrian unit. Losses don't matter unless you hit the tie at the end of the game, which is like each side has 2 of the required
4 victory point spaces the French chose. We routed a unit, took some disorder and potential disorder here, but nothing, nothing game changing. It's not gonna get us this battle. And that was this guy. Flip him over. Do I want to do another one? I don't know. It's just so painful. Might as well do at least one more. Right wing there. We'll continue with the center here. It's really not all that horrible, the mechanical problems. It's not like Summer Storm was because the size of that game and the mess. But French will go. They're going to force the Austrian right wing to go. No need to do anything. Although we could, because we're allowed to move through here, we could chase that cav off and get a double fire against this. Is that worth it? Right now I've got him blocked, and that feels pretty damn good. So I think I'm just going to say we did enough, because I think we just win the game if we don't fuck around. And if we shift these guys, we might end up giving him a chance to get this. Yeah, it's not important, but the Austrians don't know that. Onto the French center, which is going to try to launch an attack through, but there's no hope. Son of a bitch, I moved this thing. I don't want to do that. That is not part of this formation. Where's the rest of this fucker? It's all up there. God damn it. Okay. So I'll do this and try to figure out. I think I have to try to squeeze my Spaniards through before I can get these guys out of the way. Obviously, the Cav can't do shit. Can I fight across the river? Do I want to? Like, can Cav fight across the river? This is not a charge. This would be a regular melee. Only if they occupy clear or ditch. Yeah, that's an interesting question. Yeah. No Cav charge. No Cav charge. Okay. That is not specified in the rules. It's only on the terrain effects chart, which is interesting. Oh, no Cav charge. Cav melee. So, yeah, I could actually bring the Cav up and melee this unit. No, I can't, because there's infantry here, isn't there? Yep. Okay, so once again, Cav is proving ineffectual. Right then, can I move two commands together that aren't actually part of each other? So, like, oh, I can't tell the colors here. So this, and this are all part of one. I don't know who the fuck these belong to. They wandered off on their own. I think they're just two Cav units on their own. Oh no, they're part of this fucking... whatever. Who cares? Who cares? They're not going to affect anything. And again, yeah, they just accidentally marched away with these. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's have them here. I don't know. They're not doing any harm. But that gives me some room. This guy might have been able to make it. I'm getting, when the main color is not important to what I'm trying to do, and then these little colors are, but they mix with the main colors and create these, again, dissonances in my head as to what the fuck I'm dealing with. It is really problematic. Anyway, we managed to get this formation together and this formation together, and they'll try to shoot their way through as best as they can. And we managed to kill another Austrian unit, I think. One of these two hexes, I don't know which one. I don't know. I think this one. It was protected by smoke, but not by a lot. By 1 point of smoke only. These don't add up to give that more smoke. And that's half the turn. That's good enough for now. Now we break again.
But again, I think we can just call it. Like, the French could concede at this point. We'll see if I want to finish the last couple activations. I really kind of don't want to. It's not a big deal for the Austrians. Is there anything for the French? I don't know. I just don't know. But yeah, the inability to maneuver your pieces, to get them to do what you want them to do, the complexities of deploying them into line and whatnot, really make this kind of a tedious and painful thing to play out. And again, that may be a part of it, is just the historical realities of linear warfare are just not pleasant to play. The Berg games on it were okay to play, but not very accurate. I found the Battles of the Age of Reason, I don't think that they were dealing with the linear aspects very well. Maybe they were. Maybe I'm just missing something. But I definitely felt that the movement rules in that, which felt like they came straight from Labatt, were really, really unpleasant to play with. I'm really leaning to banish all their fears, to be, for all that I had gripes about it, to be a more playable and enjoyable representation of this kind of combat. Now, yes, it's of an earlier period, but I think something kind of similar could represent these later battles as well. You'd have to make some modifications. There's no question of that. But I got a lot of the same essential effect in terms of units not being able to move very quickly, not being able to break up their lines and whatnot that I'm getting here, that feels like this is attempting to create, without anywhere near the annoyance level that I'm feeling with this. And that's kind of interesting. Anyway, I'm going to break for a little bit, go down, watch another video or whatever, and we'll see if I come up and finish the last two activations. I don't see anything that should prevent me from doing it, but I like to lie, so maybe I just quit. Because again, there is absolutely no way that the Franco-Spanish can achieve their minimal goals for this turn. And the Austrians can pretty much point that out to them, to tell you the truth, because they can be like, look, I don't know where your location is, but you're not getting through here. That is almost certain. Could I cut here? Let's see, 1, 2, 3. I could get real close, but not enough. And Cav can't operate because there's infantry in the area. Nothing can get through this shit. And that's about it. You know? That's really about it. Let me see. Yeah, no cavalry combat in the breastworks, which is why I can't make it through. There's zones here, so I can't slip through. Yeah. So I've been doing this right, except for that one unit that I think couldn't have legally gotten where it got to. And it wasn't a matter of the advances, it was a matter of it couldn't have launched the attacks that it needed to get there. So this isn't going to break me through, and that means it's up to the left wing, and there really is no way through. You know, not at this point. There might have been a possibility of collapsing the line here. You can see, yeah, we're breaking the line. It's just way too late, and it took way too much effort to get to this river line.
and then forcing our way across it is just it's just too hard a thing to do. I think it's pretty damn unlikely that the Franco-Spanish can win this battle, just to be honest. I mean, I would do things differently, but you're still locked in with this setup, and this setup causes you real problems. You can't like use the cav for a, you can't use the cav over here on this right flank for a big crushing blow without it taking a lot of time to shift the entire center wing down there. And that might just be too much to hope for. It's poorly set up for fighting this battle. Well, it's about 6 a.m. Played a little bit more raid, but these weird things on my chest. But let me just finish up, even though there's no hope. Pick that. And he, of course, picks anything except his pinkos. And he gets first call. Force the French to move the left flank. Yeah, I can try. I don't think there's anything that can be done there. The only effect was to rout one of my units with the Austrians. I moved up, built my line up, but I'm not even firing. Screw it. That can only cause problems. We'll reduce the total amount of combat happening and not break anything open. Of course, it's already over. That puts us on the last two. French get to pick first. They'll force the Austrians to go. And that's just going to fire the artillery. And that left wing, yeah, it's not going to break through, but whatever. Anything except fired by cannons. I'm out of smoke counters again. Smoke changing, or just on one side. I could get, some of these changings out of there, but I'll just try to remember that those units have fired. The counter mix, I do not find to be sufficient for the game. In particular, it's the smoke changing markers. There don't seem to be enough of these if things got really ugly there. But there are plenty of melee charge markers. Does that mean I'm doing something wrong? Well, I haven't been able to move far enough to launch any melee attacks, really. So, I don't know. Gotten one or two. I could see where all those could come in useful, but yeah, it hasn't. And that puts me on this last left wing here. I mean, again, why bother? But whatever. Be able to make a couple final attacks over here and I guess here. But, I could try to launch an attack here, but it's so pointless, right? I mean, I can't possibly get a victory, or I can't possibly survive the scenario at this point. Pretty much the end of the line. This is a changing marker. It's not going to have any effect either. I'm not going to go through the end of the turn stuff. This is the end of the game. We had a significant attempt to outflank, but there's just not enough time in this game to be able to do that. The initial positions are problematic for the Franco-Spanish army to deploy easily. They end up getting in their own way, stepping on their own units, just really getting in the way. Situation up here, cav facing cav for the most part with the redoubts or whatever. Can't break through there. The defensive line here is fairly strong. These Spanish units that are kind of forced to be the units that attack there are not the strongest units in the game by any means. And they're facing a really problematic situation. The easiest place to break through is over here, probably. Maybe if I hadn't tried for the breakthrough and tried for more intensive combat, I would have had a shot. But it really looks to me like it's unbalanced and the sky's getting prettier. It looks to me like it's just it's unbalanced in favor of the Austrians. I'm having a really hard time seeing. I mean, remember, I gave up a lot of ground here, but that giving up ground delayed the French advance. Now, again, maybe plowing straight through, maybe with some good luck and whatever, maybe I make it through, but it is not easy to do so. The Franco-Spanish army is not set up in a good situation where they're able to take advantage of the situation. It's supposed to be a hot day today. I do not feel like doing the review right away. I'm going to load this up, go to sleep, and I'll be up with the review sometime today. But the next thing we're going to do, and I'm almost done with the rolls, is from the same time period. So at least there's that. All right, let's send it up.